Kevin, thanks for joining me. A little bit about your company, first of all. What do you do at AMTE Power?
Yeah, so AMTE Power is a manufacturer and developer of cells, battery cells. So we have a production plant on the north coast of Scotland, and we've been producing cells there for many years, actually. But more recently, what we've been doing is looking at specialist cells for a number of different markets that aren't being supplied by the mainstream manufacturers. And that includes automotive, but it also goes outside of automotive.
And when you mean cells, are we talking about batteries? Are you talking about cells that will go into industrial, commercial, or domestic? Where are you in that?
So the battery cells that get in, so cells are the things that you and I would buy in a shop, actually,
Yeah.
sort of in a format of cylindrical AA's, things like that. A battery is where you combine a load of those cells together and put some control software on it. The cells we make are the same as what the whole industry makes, generally speaking. We have a small scale, so we don't have the same capacity as some of the large manufacturers, but that means we're flexible. But we can make any cell. The great news about batteries is they go into any market. So yeah, the cells we make go into different sorts of markets. So you've named a few, but you're right, it is more than one industry we cover.
Yeah. Where do you see yourselves on the sort of pathway to sort of net zero decarbonisation and the technologies we need? Batteries are long vaulted as one of the key things we're going to need, particularly in a time of intermittent power with renewable energy. So how do you see the picture before we talk about the budget?
So obviously there's a number of different sectors that are looking at electrifying, but the biggest driver as far as batteries are concerned is automotive. There's a very large commitment that's driving up manufacturing of what you can buy today. But in order for this to be successful for all of the different vehicles that are made, they need different types of products. So what we've been doing is supplying standard products, but we're looking to supply some advanced products. And a good example is we have a very high power cell, which means that there's quite a large interest from people who need power. And for a vehicle, power means acceleration. So it's that type of product that we've been developing for things like zero emissions transport.
Do you see that market growing? I mean, are they the customers you're going to rather than the industrial old school ones saying I need a battery for a diesel vehicle, and that's it. Is this where you see the future of your business?
So automotive is definitely a large part of what we do. We're not really aligned with the mainstream manufacturers. We tend to align with specialist vehicle manufacturers, and that's a big part of it. But you also mentioned things like grid intermittency and things like that. We've also been looking at a product line that is sort of safer and cheaper than the current lithium ion that you can buy. With just that in mind, storing energy in residential areas, and other on-grid sort of storage, we have sort of products in that market. And our view is that market will be a big part of our business as well, to help even grid out and remove some of those intermittencies.
So today we had the Chancellor speaking. You've seen the speech, quite a long speech. Looked like money was coming out of heaven, trees, and money trees were being shaken. But in all seriousness, he made a lot of commitments around energy, infrastructure, the environment. How did you read the budget?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the majority of what he talked about was new funding. There's already been quite a lot of commitment behind batteries in particular, but certainly in green transport. And we're seeing more of that coming online now. So we were overall very pleased that the support is growing and underpinning that move towards net zero in the sort of 2050 aim. Obviously, with vehicles, we've got earlier dates to get away from diesel and petrol. I think you can always look at budgets and say, well, more needs to be done. We haven't had the time to analyse all of the different areas of the budget.
Sure.
But nonetheless, there's some very strong numbers in there supporting green transport, supporting infrastructure for recharging, and the like. So yeah, we were overall positive about what we were hearing.
So overall, it got a tick from you.
Yeah, it did. But again, they're early results. We have to look into exactly what the detail of the support is, how it will actually be used, what type of activity it's for. We're certainly not purely in the R&D phase, and obviously a lot of money has been identified to support that, which again we support. But what we're more about is putting a production supply line in place in the UK to underpin some of our automotive industry and some of the other industries. So we're very keen on that type of funding.
A couple of highlights was the Climate for Nature Fund, and obviously CCS has come back in. I mean, big bits of money for this pathway to decarbonisation. Do you see those things as relevant? The wider picture. Obviously, I know you're looking at what you can get, as every business person would, for your particular sector, but the wider picture, with the government having committed to net zero last July and now this first real budget after Brexit, do you see some of the walking rather than just the talking?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you've mentioned a couple of announcements. There's also 900 or circa 900 million to green transport and sort of 500 million towards charging infrastructure and things of that nature. When you start to look across, going to net zero is much more than just one sector moving.
Of course.
It's a very integrated activity. It's a very big challenge. There's no doubting it. And we're seeing some of the support from the budget. Do I know that it's enough? No. Do I think there needs to be more put into this arena? Yes. But there's a start point there, and I think the devil is always in the detail. When you see the headline figures, they can look like sometimes large numbers, but you've got to work out where that goes. And some of those numbers look big, but there's a general scheme of an overall budget. They aren't as big as we would like them to be. But we also recognise that there's a balance across the whole of the climate change that needs to be done.
I'm not too sure how many people in your business roughly?
So we've got about 50 people in our business, working on production of cells, and those sort of advanced batteries is what we generate.
Right. So as a sort of small to medium business, overall, do you think the climate is right, using that word, climate, for you to progress and invest in the things? Because you're the sorts of businesses that'll come up with the technologies that are all part of the bigger play to get us to net zero. Do you feel business confident? Obviously not considering the current issues around coronavirus, but for the medium term, do you feel business confident with the economic setup and the stability we now seem to have?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Putting aside coronavirus, and of course we still don't have a full answer on Brexit at this point, but our company is looking to grow our production facility behind the demand that we're seeing. So we're expecting to put a much larger production plant in place, which is a significant investment. Some of the funding that was put in place before the budget and has been added to as part of this budget, that is what is showing us that the government is backing the sort of growth that we're looking to do. So it does provide that confidence. Is it enough? I think we'll have to do more analysis to know the answer to that. But certainly we're pleased that the green transport side is getting some of that support, and it's identified as particular issues that the government wants to address.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for your time.